So to conclude the trilogy, I present Green Pueblo. This first section deals with the language of the language to Walu from the previous two books, um, but we'll just save that for another time, or if you want a copy of it. But we'll go to the first chapter. It's springtime, 2033 AD, in the city of Unoda, 20 years after the devastation. So after the destruction of the world by alien forces unknown to man, after a fight for humanity, the people of Los Angeles or United States moved to Hawaii, moved to the beaches, the oceans, to nicer pastures, the ocean, the mountains, the palm trees, the resources, all that life has to offer, all the green, all upon the islands of Hawaii. And we start with these cast of characters. So for this, we start with Tulip. Tulip, I wanted to be kind of maybe British Caucasian with this strange hair. So this concept of Tulip, Tulip Dewden, Dewden, she's based on, anime cosplay. Just, I came up with just rough idea, but I've changed her look over the years. This is sort of a hovering grasshopper backpack. She can fly around with these wings like Tinkerbell. So unlike the first two stories, unlike Grim Planet and Grey Patriarchy, we're following four characters, one for each season of the year. So it's springtime and we're following Tulip's point of view. So we're here. She is the governor, eco-governor of New Day, Tulip Dewden. So what that means is that she looks over green life, from crops to flowers to bushes to trees to animals and children. She's very much, she's like the ultimate gardener. So Pahoa, which is a city in Hawaii, which is near a volcano, is now become Unoda. Uno, Spanish for one, and da, meaning a definitive article in Japanese. It's part of Japanese grammar, so it's Unoda. And she gets dressed. Here I talk about her being German, Polish. White people, I notice, talk about how they're German, Polish, Irish, Jewish, French. Doesn't matter. I just say she's Caucasian. She's white. Her house is beautiful. It has vegetables, carrots, squash, avocados, raspberries, pineapple patches. So she has like different vegetables, different fruits, different flower gardens in this giant greenhouse-like house that she lives in. Not literally a glass house, but lots of glass in the house, like large windows so that light can come through. And there might be solar panels to help power heat lamps to help grow some crops or not. So she has like pink mirror gold hair, star-shaped hair, and so it's like a hibiscus. So this is like if you notice it, it's a hibiscus in the back. So here she has like soy milk and wheat flakes, oats, bananas. I don't say whether or not she's a vegetarian or vegan, but I do have some vegans on the city of Onoda. So this is, a city that's rebuilding life after an apocalypse. This is a community story, a post-life story. No real enemies, but there is a question mark at the end of this whole thing. So for now, we're looking at a character she goes up into the air with those green wings in the back, and she's going to go and water. She goes about watering the gardens and buildings of Onoda, formerly known as Pahoa. She waters, crop trees, vines, flower beds, anything. She has other duties, but all this while she talks, she does her duties while she talks about how things are governed. So I kind of rewrote the Constitution where we, the people, human or intelligent being otherwise, must establish, maintain entertainment, technology, ecology, and improve the civilization's growth and proper military. So the government is divided, like, you have a judicial, legislative, and executive branch. Here we have an ecology branch, entertainment branch, technology, and then military or law enforcement. So we have different laws, different rules. In the Magna Igloo or Golden Hut, taxes and laws are going to be reviewed by governors and upstanding, and then by appointed upstanding citizens. Age 20 is eligibility for any position of political power. So council, junior council, vice president, president, all that stuff. Money comes in the form of yi yang, which is brass coins, plastic fiber circuit cards. So it's basically the marriage of money and Bitcoin, so that you can use it everywhere and anywhere. It'd be like a universal currency. But they're discussing international commerce, remnant foreign nations. They're trying to come up with a new United Nations building for New Day and remnant foreign nations. So there are other foreign governments after the devastation, after the Zetralok alien destroyed a lot of things. So they're trying to figure everything out. Um, there is no one president, so there are only four head governors. So there is no president of the United States. There's only governors. So no one man is an island, with pun intended. There's just different four different positions. Elections for positions of power limited to 10 candidates per position. And let's see, they cannot exceed 1 million yi yang. Article 3 has judges in courts, similar to Asian states. We have a Supreme Court, 10 judges. 4 reviews the morals of the candidates already in political power. Lazarus, so in the case of, we had a Katie Hill, who was a congresswoman for us, and she had an affair. She had an extramarital affair, I think. I don't know. She was married. I think she was married, and then she had an affair with someone else. But she would take a Lazarus course, which means you need to do something, whether it's a 12-step program like Alcoholics Anonymous. You need to correct the mistake you made, which is infidelity, and then you can come back into office. So volunteer efforts. So if you've done something wrong, immoral or illegal, you're required to do Lazarus courses. So if we had Lazarus courses today, Katie Hill would not be fired. She would not be. She would do something different. Article 5 proposes deadlines for new laws, 4 categories. This is like basically rewriting the Bill of Rights and stuff like that. I had to look it up and then rewrite some stuff. Uh, Article 6 and 7 protects immigrant rights to a certain degree in recognizing Udota and future Pico villages with the same rights and penalties. So, if they committed crimes somewhere else, they're not protected. They have to be proven though. But if an immigrant committed a crime somewhere else and is hiding, trying to get asylum, then would not be protected. So there are some restrictions. Our amendments are simple with complex situations underneath. Free speech is allowed, limited only by libel and slander. So you can speak out at college campuses. Military forces enforce as they must be free of political and religious favors in their duty. So that military force has to be neutral. Guns and crossbows and arrows are restricted. Rubber bullets are for civilian use. So no shooting, killing people in the line of duty, but only rarely can they be used. There's always an exception to rules. Uh, Crossbows and arrows are you can hunt wild game with limits to how many game animals per patron and on weekends only. Peace times, officers of all kinds require warrants to enter a residence. Same thing as Bill of Rights. Court system is similar to ancient states with statute of limitations. Most laws, except where there is murder. So except murder, you have statute of limitations everywhere else. In Japan, up until the year 2010, they didn't have statute. They had statute of limitations on murder, and then they changed that so they can go back to cold cases. So I thought that was interesting. The only exception is if the accused has become terminally ill or invalid. So if a murderer, if a murderer who can be proven a murderer is terminally ill or invalid or invalid, that means that person cannot help themselves or take care of themselves, then house arrest rules may apply to that person. So, if O.J. Simpson were proven, well, O.J. Simpson they had double jeopardy, but there's double jeopardy rules and there's things like that. There's always exceptions to rules. Juniors are selected at random and impartial with a partial mediator. So you can have a partial mediator, a friend, colleague, or relative to negotiate innocence or guilt. So you can have someone who's partial but would not be an official juror to speak out in defense of the person. So that's a weird one. No slavery, no discrimination on civil rights based on skin color, religion, orientation, or gender. Due process takes priority in all levels, cases of court. So, um, you know, I don't care. I don't care about social justice warriors or certain political movements I've been seeing in downtown Los Angeles. Due process must always take place. Just because someone is a man, just because someone is a woman, just because someone is black or white or brown or trans or not, young or old, um, due process first, always. The evidence first. Um, New Day has a clean slate approach. Handicaps are not discriminated from opportunities unless proven. Handicap. Oh, this is for employment. So you can't discriminate a handicapped person unless you can prove that their handicap is which may be true today, but I see most cases where if someone's handicapped, you can't fire them from their job. But if you can prove otherwise. New Day has a clean slate approach. We will not allow any religion or political party, the agent states of any country, to influence the charter now or in the future. So, not to be influenced by anybody, any particular party. How's our culture? Meat. They grow lab meat, but it's debatable whether or not lab meat is accepted. Uh, so only that is hunted. So only meat of livestock that is hunted within our laws is made for distribution. Um, so they're created in labs. So there's different things. Children play volleyball, different things, golf, pinball golf. Potatoes. There's small portions of junk food. People deal with hot temperatures. Stop and go signs are lollipop changing. Are giant lollipops or color changing things on it, lights. 500 people. So there's a limit of 500 people per village. You can't have more than 500. If there's more than 500, they would be relocated to a new village. So it's to kind of prevent too much an oversaturation of people. So we have Drake's vehicles that go on land, sea, and air. Um, we have they have houses that have they go on ball bearings because in case the volcano erupts, the houses can be moved. So a house with no house without wheels. The vehicles can uh, the vehicles can transport, not to fly. Yeah, so I have different rules, different laws. Um, yeah, so okay, so now we're going into this is the zodiac blossoms. So as the governor, eco governor of Unoda, she has to check for special events, parades, holidays. The zodiac blossoms that are named after different flowers of the year. Their job is to help set up flowers all over the shopping areas, police stations, neighborhoods, apartments. So she has graces, divas, flora shaping is how. This is a new way of speaking. I rearranged the English language so it sounds like gibberish almost, but you can tell by looking at this that the English, the grammar is different than what we're used to, and I didn't. It wasn't just enough to make it futuristic in terms of technology and just culture, but the way they speak to each other. So I did want them to sound like they're speaking differently. So like Yosh down there, Yosh is Japanese for all right. So some phrases from other languages make it into English and become English, just like it has through time and space. Uh, do the fireflies? Uh, she's asking about fireflies. So there's a little bit of weird grammar here. So they're just talking. The kit heater's not ready. Then marshes have by care have to be crafted. Um, so like is how is this is based on grammar from other languages. That's how I was able to do this. So it's just rewriting English and making it for this decade, for this time period. So off she flies. She's done reviewing the zodiac blossoms. She's off to fly to another part. It's Furry Scaly Feathers and Others facility, which is a three-story building. It's a animal hospital, and Posse, which is like a I would say very curvaceous, voluptuous. I would say maybe 30 or 40 pounds overweight, but she's very beautiful, Hawaiian kind of, what do you call it? A wahine? Like a very beautiful. So imagine the typical Hawaiian goddess, but she's a bit chunky. But she has a nice face. Um, she's one of the kind of women that women like today, the women that are a bit overweight but look good. So Posse is very much looks like that kind of girl, and she takes care of all the animals. And we go to the bottom here, in which Tulip sees a little girl, and the little girl's singing a song. And if I can get closer to that, this is the so it's she meets Posse, but then she hears the little girl sing the hymn of the origins of how they came to be, the great places. So the it matches these kinds of notes. One day the Green Reaper came, killing boys and girls. Then the king of aliens devastates our world. So what I'm doing here is it's the first two books in which the Grim Reaper came, killing everybody. Then the king of the aliens devastates the whole world, which is Grim Planet and Great Patriarchy. And then so they have a little bit of talk. Um, Here they're talking about the cat's name is what. Again, what instead of what is the cat's name? Your cat. This is just like future speak. Chispa. Chispa is so. This is based on Japanese grammar, literally converted to English, and it sounds a little funny, but as people go along, they speak less and kind of mumble more and mutter more. And it's because of technology is so great these days, people don't interact with each other enough, so they speak less. So they have a little bit of talk here. Posse talks to Tulip. Um, there's next month is the Children's Day parade and Animal Day and Children's Day. So there's a lot of community things happening here. Um, there is a next generation of circus freaks, which are stunt performers who do different things. One is of energy, one is of robots, and one is of animals. And they're based off of the circus freaks from the Gray Patriarchy. So they're so right now I think she's going to the edge of the beach, the edge of the island, and let's see. So she's got. I think she's moved to. And here she goes to the edge of the beach near uh, Unoda, and she meets the Armenian acrobat. I had like one word Armenian phrases. I'm not gonna like if I don't know the language. You can barely see him, but um, he's based on an actor. So he's an Armenian who's a contortionist who wears the split mask of tragedy and comedy. So he's got this weird suit. So there's some conversation between one of the Ash dancers based on Ashley, based on the Circus Freaks. Um, then we take a look at Francisco. Now, Francisco, if you can remember, was much younger in Gray Patriarchy, but now he's much older. He's in his 40s. Uh, and we have his sidekick, Panza. He hasn't changed too much uh, from Great Patriarchy. He's still the goofy superhero. But Valiant has passed away because cats get old in 20 years. So he has a new cat, Panza, which, if you know your Don Quixote, should be pretty obvious. So this little banter back and forth, it's kind of cute. It's just, you know, Panza fights a seagull, and Francisco gets into a fight with somebody. I don't know what it was. Somebody was stealing food, or so. This he gets into rough fights sometimes over civil disobedience, civil disputes, civil fights, and he just kind of solves problems one idiotic thing at a time. So she actually asked Francisco to go with her to Los Angeles, where the devastation of the destruction of the city happened. So they're going to go east, and they're going to go and visit someone. She was also a resident of Hattiesburg, where there was agents of hate, different hate groups were fighting each other. So they're going back. All the Wooloo zombies and half-human hybrid creatures seem to be gone. Zetro Ray is no longer around to see any future. So they go back to the place where, and here she remembers Aunt Rose. Aunt Rose was the hero of the last book, in which she saved the world from alien destruction, uh, destroyed the circus freaks, destroyed Zetro, and now she's going back to see someone because someone is still there, and that would be Kaleido. So Kaleido is a bit older. He's in his 30s. He's no longer a teenager. He's been charged with a very important task from Rai, one of the founders of Unoda, and he doesn't tell anybody else. He's kept it a secret, but we'll find out what that secret is. For now, Francisco, the Mexican Avenger, and Tulip visit Kaleido to see what's going on with him. There's a reason why Kaleido is still staying in the battered old city instead of being on the Hawaiian Islands. Originally, Kaleido was diagnosed as one of the diseased, one of the people who suffered from the alien virus. Now, if you remember Rose Marie, her skin turned gray, her eyes turned magenta, her lips turned purple. She turned her her homeostasis and her blood clotting stopped, and her blood could no longer clot. She suffered a disease. She just suffered a degradation. So Kaleido, it happened to the same thing. Kaleido wears that white and black suit to preserve his energy. Now, Kaleido could infect the people of Unoda and the rest of Hawaii and the world if he sticks around Hawaii. If he doesn't, if he's one of the diseased. So he gave Tulip a sample of his blood, and so they passed the test. So he's fine. Though he's a bleeder and of colder temperature, you can't infect anybody. Infect starts with words. With words we kill time and money. Money buying friends. We can create a cult leading to insurrection. Insurrection, what it is you really want. So he's speaking in double speak, as I had him do before. It matters not the good and the bad. It matters not the good and the bad. The good and the bad have the same results. The same results make it clear what you want. Not the table on my couch, wherever. So he's speaking. She brought menudo and rolls, but he's speaking in double speak, kind of being a jerk. But that's just the way he is. He speaks one way or the other way. He can play sides, but he doesn't take a particular side. So he's playing with it's sort of a Rube Goldberg puzzle. He puts a marble down the puzzle and it goes all these different things. And he's talking about alternate universes, different things that I wrote over the years. So he's speaking that he can see these other universes. So she doesn't care about all that. She's asking for his help. Now, what she's asking for him to do is to become the governor of law enforcement. So the way it is Tulip is in charge of the ecosystem, nature, animals, children, stuff like that. Zether, her boyfriend, is in charge of entertainment. The robot dog Syllabone is in charge of technology. And if Kaleido joins them, he can be in charge of law enforcement. But he never gives a definite answer. So, I mean, Francisco tries to talk to him, but he's being a dumbass, so he don't want to say the wrong things. In another universe, Francisco was killed by Kringle Clarity. That's a book I published years ago. So he remembers this, he remembers this. And then some people come out of hiding and tell her to leave. They tell Tulip to leave. It's like, we don't want you here. This is kind of representative of the tension in Boyle Heights, for example. Gentrification, how Caucasians and even well-to-do Latinos want to take up more buildings and more businesses in Boyle Heights. And us cholos and wannabe cholos, my motherfucker, fucking pinche, get out of here. We don't want you here. So it's kind of like we don't want white stuff. I mean, if you look at Pollos Camperos, which is a restaurant, that got, I mean, it used to be Tacos Mexico on Whittier Boulevard. Then it became Pollos Camperos, and then finally became Starbucks. And all kinds of people of all kinds of colors and cultures come to Starbucks. So every store, it's like Bart Simpson going through Starbucks. Every store is a Starbucks. So um, this is kind of representative of that, where we don't want you here on our land. Why don't you go back to your islands? Go back to Unoda. Go back to where you belong. We don't want you here. We don't want old days help. Your society is so perfect. So it's people criticizing each other. So yes, Tulip, Zether, Syllabone are doing the right things, but there are still people who hate them. Um, so she compares Kaleido, but he reminds her of Jerry the Reaper. He has known abuse to be as common as water, yet he has reached an epiphany, not unlike that of the legendary Jerry the Reaper, who first devastated our world. That good and evil are like playthings in a sandbox. That box could either be a Leonardo da Vinci or whatever the dog made from constipation. So, what we do every day. And at the beginning of this story, she says, if I can find it really quick, we know who we are. We know what we're capable of. We all make choices. So she's disappointed that Kaleido wants to stay and do whatever in Los Angeles and not come to the islands because she could really use his help. So there was a reason why Kaleido didn't go there, because he was one of the diseased, the people infected by the alien viruses that Zetralok brought. And when Rosemarie made the igloo, she made it to preserve those people who were not infected, who were not one of the disease. So all the people who were safe and healthy, they went to the islands, and those who were infected stayed on the mainland. So this is what it was about. And here we have this character, Red to Black. Red to Black is an albino uh, who speaks in Haitian Creole. I wanted some new language that wasn't like the other languages. That wasn't, most languages, we know the languages like Russian, German, French, and other languages, if you go through Google Translate, are sort of derivatives of those same languages. They're like a smaller group of people would speak that language. Spain Spanish is different from Mexican Spanish. So, there's differences, and Portuguese is different from Spanish. So he speaks Haitian Creole. He wears these weird gadgets. I sort of wrote him in the very first book. So I think it's Escopade, Satisfait. I don't really know much about Haitian Creole. I have to work on my Haitian Creole. But they're launching a ship that's going to send food, plant seeds, crops, clothes, everything. So even though she can't really bring the diseased onto the islands, she can help them indirectly by sending a ship full of rations for them. But they're still better. So tomorrow I will go over the next 20 pages or so, and we'll introduce Zether. Until tomorrow.